Good afternoon, everyone. I see that we're not quite caught up with where the course is at this point. I think maybe there are 3 people that managed to get last week's unit done. So it's a good thing we have a couple weeks break. I know you're also probably trying to work on your research papers. So for that reason, there isn't a separate unit in the files. Instead, I just listed what to do in Campus Guides, and there's an article for you to read that's in the resources and respond to. So things are really coming together here. We've talked a lot about American culture in other contexts in this course, and here's where it really kind of the rubber hits the road with regard to the liturgy. There's one of the writings that you're reading in liturgy documents is the 25th anniversary of Tra la Salus Tatini. And again, that emphasis on music and on participation. Now, it makes me crazy when the entrance procession comes in, the whole congregation is singing, and the priests and the servers are not opening their mouths or carrying books. So this makes me crazy. Everybody is supposed to be participating in a liturgy. But I try not to get too bent out of shape about these things. That document, though, is really interesting because of the way in which it charts out that what should be done. It's not just emphasizing Gregorian chant, but other religious liturgical music as well. And it should be sung in seminaries, and there should be cantors trained. They should have daily classes in Gregorian chant or liturgical music. It's really serious about this. But, in the United States, we're not that much of I shouldn't say that. Roman Catholics are not that much of a singing people. That's really not true if you go into the other Christian churches. Even if you go into the Orthodox Church, Anglican Church, Methodist, Baptist, men even are singing at the top of their lungs. People sing spontaneously in harmony. I don't know what this happened among the Roman Catholics, because we're all living in the same culture. If you read each other's postings on the message board, especially in the response to Vasco, you see Gabriel talks a bit about the church in Nigeria, which is really nice to read about, and some of you have started to respond to each other, which is a very good thing. I put on the Campus Guides a picture of St. Benedict the African, which is, if you read my response to in that section on architecture, which is one of my favorite churches in Chicago. It's a relatively recent church. And I went there with the North American Academy of Liturgy the first time at our annual meeting. On Sundays we went to different churches, and I went with a large group of people to that church. And they had just such wonderful liturgy. And the way in which the church is designed is amazing. You enter really around a baptismal pool, and then into what looks like this. So you're outdoors. It's designed to look like an African meeting tent, and all around the perimeter of the circle there is earth, so that the plants you see in the picture are really growing in the earth. Now, those plants have been there for many years, so now you have the experience of being in a forest. So I went there that January for the Mass, and then I wanted to go back. So I tried to figure out a way to get back to Chicago and go back to St. Benedict the African to worship with the people there. It's a wonderful, wonderful community. And if any of you knew Father Timothy Lyons, he's a Vincentian priest who was stationed at St. John's for a few years. He did his doctoral work at the Chicago Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, and he did his dissertation about the parish, St. Benedict the African parish there. It's a really interesting dissertation on the Eucharistic prayer and its importance. So the other document we're reading about is about the Eucharistic fast. I'm not sure anybody knows we have a Eucharistic fast anymore. Before I made my first communion, the Eucharistic fast, which was from midnight, you couldn't have anything. And right at the time I was making my first communion was this first document that came on that allowed people to drink water after midnight. So you couldn't have any food at all, but you could have water before you went to communion. And then the Eucharistic fast changed again, as you read, to 3 hours from solid food and 1 hour for liquids, but you could have water at any time. And now it's 1 hour, but nobody really, I think, knows that anymore. Even when it was the hour for liquids, you could just see people like checking their watches. It's like, is it an hour before communion? Is it an hour before Mass starts? We were very legalistic in those days, and now it's sort of the opposite. And for me, the problem, as I look back on it now, is that it was about laws, and there wasn't a spirituality behind the fasting. You know, as Godfrey Diekman says, fasting is ubiquitous in all religions. There's fasting to a certain extent for religious purposes. For me, there's something good about going to Eucharist hungry. The physical hunger reminds us of our spiritual hunger. And as Augustine said, that kind of inner restlessness that will only find its rest in God, ultimately. I used to joke and say when I became Pope, I would reinstitute the Eucharistic fast. But I wouldn't do it for laws. I would really try to get underneath it and talk about a spirituality where one might take it upon oneself to go to Eucharist hungering, reminding oneself that one is hungering for God. So there we have it. Now, we're moving into Thanksgiving. I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be in Minnesota for a couple of weeks. I still will be checking in with you online and reading your postings and responding to your emails, whatever you need, especially if you're working on your research projects. I've returned all the participant observations to you, and good luck getting caught up with everything. If you have any questions, please email me, call me, talk to me. Have a good week. Bye-bye.